Let's start this morning with Rotun Lahiri giving us a perspective of how she sees things between last budget and now. What's changed and what's not? Rotun.
Thank you, Arnab, and thank you for the very kind introduction. So in terms of the last budget, I speak from a startup perspective primarily, but, we'll also delve a little bit into the macro policy and macroeconomics. In terms of startups last time, I think the government did a lot, and I said this on your channel last time, reducing the long-term capital gains tax to 12.5%, doing away with angel tax, and a couple of other measures have really helped the startup industry. But as I see, this year, looking forward, I think the first thing that strikes one, is there has certainly been a little bit of, there's been slow growth. Growth has slowed. And, while the optimism is still there, India is always optimistic, there is that slight trepidation, at the moment. And I think we need to put more money in the pockets. And I think I'm preaching to the converted. We need to put more money in the pockets of the middle class. I think that is the section that is hurting the most. In terms of, if I go into the startup sector, I think the first thing that we need to do is, when Prime Minister Modi gave a clarion call, for Make in India, we in the last couple of years we have seen a huge, I think activity in deep tech. We as a fund have invested in some fantastic, extraordinary deep tech, companies in space tech, in autonomous transformation, in, underwater drones, etc. But I think that brings with itself, equal challenges. And I think the government needs to look at, things like R&D tax, and, long term. At the moment, I think 10 years is when you can carry losses forward. I think that needs to increase, and a couple of other things. And overall, I will end this, this particular section of mine saying that, I've been traveling a lot in India over the last 6 weeks, and India is many Indias, and all of India needs to develop. And therefore, I think in the East, we need to have particular policies targeted, towards the East. There are some states that are doing very well. I've just come back from Utkarsh, Orissa, the 2-day conclave that they had in Orissa. To showcase Orissa. I think that's a very, very good step. I think a lot more needs to be done, so that every part of India, I think develops that power.
Yeah. Modi is going to be meeting Trump, Ajay, in February. Lot depends on that. How will March look after that? I think the global factors are predominant in this budget. This year, with Trump coming and with the kind of tariff conversation we are having, are we under some kind of a threat? We're not in distress, but will we be able to manage this? How will the markets look forward to the budget? Which are the big headlines you think that can be delivered this morning by Nirmala Sitharaman, if any? Or is this going to be a sedate, no-headline budget?
Arnab, definitely there will be headlines. What do we need? I think you have, as usual, you have caught the pulse. The global threat is looming large. Last evening, the White House press secretary has said that today 25% tariffs come in on Canada and Mexico, huge. 10% on China. So just Canada, Mexico is $900 billion worth of goods trade with the US. And Trump, from the Oval Office, has also made a statement that I'm looking closely at the European Union and other trading partners. So hopefully India will get a trade deal done. We need an agreement with the US. If they need to bring in Harley Davidsons, let them bring it in. What I read somewhere was that nobody came to the dealerships, and the one person who took out a Harley for a test drive never returned. They found him in Andhra later on.
We're happy with Bullet.
We are very happy with Bullets. We have driven them in our youth, and any mechanic can fix them on the roadside. They're always on. Jokes aside, Arnab, the global issues loom large. What is the big concern right now? You need more money in the people's pockets. That is an equation which gets solved if you bring more income to people.
Yeah.
More income comes with more employment. So that's what the government would be looking at: how to generate more employment or how to make people more self-reliant to be self-employed. That is one. Second will be what the institutional investors will be looking at. How is the government tackling its burgeoning debt and its fiscal deficit? So there is a glide path to reduce the fiscal deficit. We are expecting that to happen. That will be the second. Third, the government has done an excellent job on the capital expenditure front. There are four pillars to an economy, Arnab. Private consumption, which is okay, it's rolling along. There is private capex, which is right now it's not doing too well.
Yeah.
There is third, government capital expenditure, which did very well. This year, because of the national elections, we got held up, and that is behind all this little slowdown in the economy. The good news is December numbers are 95% better year on year. So the catch up is happening, Arnab. The fourth is the exports. Now, exports, we will have a second order impact of China tariffs, because we saw that in 2018-19. When China gets constrained by the US, it starts dumping the goods because it has so much excess capacity. It dumps the goods in emerging markets, and India, unfortunately, becomes a victim of Chinese tariffs again as a second order effect. So government is very seized of it. It's not a simple solution. It is a multi-year solution that they have to bring to creating jobs and creating incomes. The third big thing I would look at is, okay, fiscal space is constrained. You can't do too much. You're already borrowing 16 lakh crores a year. You spend 48 lakh crores and you earn only 32 lakh crores. So you're already borrowing 16 lakh crores a year. Not too much fiscal space. Or if you have to give relief somewhere, you will have to either tax somebody else or take money out of someone else. Both politically not very easy statements. What can be done is twofold. One is monetary stimulus from the RBI. I think last 3-4 months, RBI missed a trick by not cutting rates. They should have gone accommodative much earlier. And today also, on 7th, when they cut rates, it takes 9 to 12 months to transmit into the economy. So we are behind the curve. Part of the slowdown is also RBI being too ultra hawkish, ultra restrictive. The second, Arnab, you can't do fiscal stimulus much. You have monetary stimulus, it will take time. What can you do? Reform stimulus. You have to reform, you have to ease the burden on corporations to function in the country. You have to create ease of living, cut down regulations, and do a reform stimulus. And the last part, this budget, what it will address, Arnab, is the electoral poor. There are the economic poor, which are about 5% in the country, but there's a huge 80 crore electoral poor who are getting food grains, who are getting Ladki Behna, who are getting all these dole-outs. So it will address the electoral poor, who are actually, not all of them are poor. 30-40 crores out of them are earning people paying taxes like us, but they are in that electoral poor by accident of birth or accident of religion or accident of politics.
Yes.